In my research, I saw that you went to Middle Tennessee State
Yeah,
Teachers College.
yeah.
So did you always want to be a teacher?
No, 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 not at all. Um, the very simple reason for the Middle Tennessee State Teachers College, my family had groomed me to go to Vanderbilt University, which was in Nashville, 30 miles from home. Um, but by the time I got through high school, ready to go to university, there was no way I could go to Vanderbilt because that was a costly place.
Mm.
Murfreesboro, Middle Tennessee was only 9 miles down the road, and I could stay at home and milk cows and do the work every day and get a little money and catch a ride in. And so it was local. It was strictly the only local possibility I could afford.
Okay.
And that's the reason I went there. As far as teaching goes, it was, of course, you had to take a lot of boring courses in education by the requirements. But and you had to do practice teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so my practice teaching was teaching high school algebra. And I learned from that one episode that teaching was never going to be a problem. I suppose I have kind of an authoritarian personality or something, because I had never any problem with discipline or anything else. I mean, students always paid attention to me, in other words. So, in that sense, I was a natural teacher, but I didn't have the urge to teach as such.
Did that ever change, like maybe when you got graduate students, or was teaching something not so?
Well, there was a sort of a seismic shift in my way I did things. When I moved after I'd spent what might be called journeyman years at the University of Tennessee and at Florida State, where I was teaching, regular teaching more or less, undergraduates and graduates. When I shifted to the University of Virginia in 1956, I started teaching a graduate course in public finance, welfare economics, public finance, and I shifted my way of teaching because I always had a small group, and I was very active in my own interest at that time, working on some material, and which became a lot of public choice later. But I found that the way to teach that course was to get the students involved with me working on what I was working on. So they would write papers, little short papers, and I would grade them, and it was really an interactive teaching experience that was very successful and was well known, and I turned out a lot of really top-notch people as a result of that. So from that day on, my teaching was quite different from what it had been up till then.
Okay.
There was nothing, no rote teaching after that, no teaching what was down in the book or in, that sort of thing. It was all original stuff.
Can you point to someone who's had an influence on how you teach, or is it something that you just developed along the way?
Well, there is I think I can point to some. I mentioned some of this in my autobiography.
Mm-hmm.
There are two types of teachers, so to speak, that I had in graduate school, and one of them did influence me a lot, I think. There's the teacher who feels like he needs to put the student down, that is, to make the student feel very humble, and therefore he becomes very negative toward that student, makes that student embarrassed, tries his best to break the confidence of that student. Jacob Viner was famous for that at the University of Chicago, and I had Viner's course in international economics. That was not the one I emulated. I wanted to be something else. And another man, T.W. Schultz, who was chairman of the department up there and who later got the Nobel Prize, was an agricultural economist. He really had a big influence on me in the following way. He would, to a graduate class, he would say, somebody would raise a kind of a stupid question. And Schultz would always say, well, Mr. Jones, there may be something in what you're saying. And he would always lead the student to think that there was something there. It was almost the opposite of Weiner's approach. It was, rather than beating down the student, Schultz would take a stupid student and make him think he was making a contribution. So, and I adopted essentially that. But whether it was direct from Schultz or whether it was just my general characteristic, I'm not sure.